Hello, everyone. Welcome to Better Talks. I'm here today with a special guest, and I'm going to kindly allow him to introduce himself to the audience.
Thank you. Igor Vainshtein is my name. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have had businesses in lots of different sectors, but probably the latest one that's most interesting to most is I call myself a golf entrepreneur because I had a golf company, which I exited. I expanded it from Australia to uh, to the US and then to Europe, and then I had an amazing exit about 18 months ago. And still working in there, obviously helping with the acquire to grow the company. I've written a couple of books. First one got published a few months ago called Practical Manifestation, now bestseller on Amazon. I've got a second book coming out, Agile Manifestation, in
Wow.
January. And then the other cool thing, what you probably really enjoy,
Wow.
is I invented a board game called Entrepreneurship, which just launched.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a game that I wanted to kind of give back in a big way to the entrepreneur community. And I created a game that kind of teaches you entrepreneurship and financial literacy um, using real world examples. So a lot of the cards in the game you pick up when you play is actually from
Hmm.
my life, my experience, but also from the other entrepreneurs that I know. And so I'm doing a lot of random things. So not one thing. I do like 10 different things because
Seem like a very multi-talented individual. Speaking of, you see yourself as a serial entrepreneur. For those of us who are not familiar with that term, serial entrepreneur, can you kindly explain that to us?
yeah, sure. So I see a difference. There's a couple of differences that I see, and I'll actually go a little bit further out. So to me, there's like a business owner, right? As a persona. A business owner is someone who, the way I look at it, a business owner is someone who has their own business, but it's like a job, right? The business is about them. So for example, there's a lot of, either solopreneurs, someone who's like a business which is just them, like a consultant or whatever. But also you have businesses like accountants or plumbers or, lawyers, right? So they're their trade and they have a business, but really it relies on them to book billable hours, sell their time. So to me, that's a business owner. Then there's an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is really someone who builds a business that's scalable. And again, it's at one business. And I wish I had a lot of the time. I wish I had, the focus to stick to one business. But I'm wired a bit differently. I got like entrepreneur ADHD. Like I can't stay focused on one business. I got to do multiple things. And so I kind of fulfill that by basically starting multiple businesses. And by the way, most of them fail. Statistics are 1 in 9 businesses will succeed. So that means 8 out of 9 fail.
Wow.
And I've started well over 20 businesses in my life,
Wow.
and I failed at most of them. But that doesn't, that's kind of also where I learned, from the School of Hard Knocks, how to succeed. And so serial entrepreneurship is, I guess, that sort of starting multiple businesses and trying different things, and that's how I see kind of the progression. And the one thing I'll say is there's no right or wrong with any of those. It's like, what does it feel? What is it right for you? Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. So what you're saying is that I mean, according to what I'm hearing from you is that a business owner was once an entrepreneur,
Yes.
and
That's
then
actually a good way to do it. Yeah.
their focus is on one business, whereas a
Yes.
serial entrepreneur starts, scales, and then moves on to something else. Because
Yeah.
as you said, they are so creative that they constantly have ideas. You know,
So you know what? That's a really good point. And can I linger on that for a second? That'll
yes.
be a valuable lesson, I think, to your viewers and listeners. The best entrepreneurs, they don't linger on ideas, right? Because
Mm,
this is an interesting distinction. What they linger on, what they pursue, is a problem to solve. So what I see as my kind of superpower is the ability to see problems that need solving for customers, sometimes even without the customers truly knowing it themselves. But the best entrepreneurs, they find problems to solve, not ideas to start. Because what I've seen is a lot of entrepreneurs, and I've done this myself so many times, and have mostly failed at this miserably. Is I fall in love with the idea. I get an idea, I go, oh, this is going to be a great idea, and you fall in love with it, and you try to build a business because you love the idea, but you don't test the market. You don't ask the question, what problem am I solving? How many people have that problem? And what are they willing to pay to have that problem solved? If you don't have that sequence, you're gonna have a hobby, not a business.
Okay, I'm happy that you bring this up. Let's really linger on ideas and problem solving. So you're saying that there are two ways we can go about starting a business, or it could be a service or a product. So you're saying that one way is just to have a fresh idea, which has not been tested in the marketplace. Whereas you examine a problem in the marketplace that customers have, and then from that problems that you examine, you come up with solutions.
An idea can be, so the concept of the idea is obviously you can have the idea for the business which solves the problem. But what I'm saying is just having an idea. I'm trying to remember a good example. So there is someone came to me recently and asked for some advice, right? And they have this idea they want to do something to do with movies and content and independent creators and things like that. And they have this, and they're very excited about it, and they love it, and they're presenting to me this idea, and I'm listening to this idea for like an hour, and I just asked them at the end. I said, "You just spent an hour telling me about your idea," and I said, "I have no idea who your customer is, and I don't understand what. So I don't know who your customer is, and I don't know what problem you're solving for them. So this idea is it's not a business. It's just you see something you like, but that doesn't make it a business. And so the distinction is an idea that actually leads into a business, especially one that can succeed and scale. It has to be based on a problem that you've observed in the market. So Google, right? People say, "What's Google for? What did they solve?" Right? They actually said it very early on. Google solved the problem of organizing the information of the world. Right. So they solved that problem for billions of people, and they built a multi-billion-dollar business. Does that make sense? That distinction?
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Igor, for distinguishing that. So you're in essence, what you're saying that there's one thing you can have an idea, but it does not necessarily mean that that idea has the potential to be converted into a business. My understanding is that if you have an idea, and that idea can lead to solving a problem, because most times as entrepreneurs, we have an idea to make money, but that idea necessarily cannot be a business. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm having this idea. I want to start up this idea. I have this idea. I want to start a business. And the main reason for me starting that business is because I want to make money." So you completely ignore the problems that you should be solving. You completely ignore the customers because you have an idea and your intention is to make money. The idea of making money does not denote a tangible business.
Correct. And in fact, so you and I share something in common. We're both immigrants, right? So I came to Australia when I was not even 11 years old yet with my parents. We had $200, 4 suitcases, and no English. Right? This is not my first language. This is my second language. And having grown up very poor, and obviously I've moved to US now as well, right? So I've lived in 3 countries, but I came from former Soviet Union, so a communist place, just to add a little bit extra flavor to it. But when I was growing up very poor, I had this idea that I wanted to be rich and successful and all that. And when I got into business initially, I did have this idea that I just want to make money. I want to be a billionaire by 30 or some crazy idea like that. But here's the thing.
Yes.
Any business that you start from a simple idea, I want to make $1 million or $10 million or $1 billion, you are most likely, like 99.9%, going to fail, because that is not a business case. That is not a viable motivation to have a business, right? If you want to just make money, go become really good at, I don't know, AI engineering and get a job for $500,000 a year. Right? Don't start. Your life will be way simpler than having a business. Is freaking hard. It's really, really hard. So the motivations that I recommend you find to start a business has to be not money. It has to be other things. For me, it's things like time freedom to spend with my kids, my wife, my parents, have the time freedom to travel the world, have adventures, see things, experience things, right? But it's not just money. Because it's a lot easier. If you want to just make money, it's a lot easier just to have a really good job. Because then when you can switch off, but that's not motivation. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Entrepreneurship, is it certain characteristics and competencies that people need to acquire for them to be seen or considered as an entrepreneur, and then they can transfer those characteristics and competencies to be able to start any type of business?
Great question. So I'll tell you the number one skill. And when my wife and I had our kids, we actually made a very conscious decision to teach them those skills from as early as possible, right? So anyone who's got kids out there and they want their kids to be entrepreneurs, this is a good point for you. The number one skill, in my opinion, in entrepreneurship is sales. Right?
Mm.
You need to be able to be a really great salesperson. And by sales, I don't mean a sleazy salesperson. I don't mean like, Wolf of Wall Street style, right? I mean, there's you can definitely get somewhere with that, but you might land in jail. But the best skills are really to be really, really good at sales and good sales. And what I mean by that is very good at asking questions and listening. Now, the reason why that is number one skill is because when you start a business, so let's say most people start a business just themselves, right? You start selling your skills to someone who may need those skills. Number one thing is you have to be able to show and demonstrate to the person you're selling to that you are the person that can, solve that for them, solve their problems, create that service or whatever product, etc. So selling is number one. Now, selling doesn't just stop at selling to your customer. You have to sell the vision to other people. You have to influence people. You have to convince. So it could be your suppliers. Sometimes, when I was in the dumps and I owed the bank, hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they were calling me daily, going, we're going to bankrupt you. I had to sell them the idea that I can climb my way out.
Mm.
I had to convince them that, hey, give me a chance, and I'll climb my way out, and I'll pay you back. Right. And that skill of that convincing, even in that situation, is still sales, right? It's influence, it's sales. And then the other part of it, which kind of ties into it, is you have to get really good at hiring people, right? Because there's only so much that you by yourself can go. You need to
That's
then build a
true.
team around you. And here's the thing with that. Once you get the right team, so you need skills to be able to kind of read people and figure out what's the right person, how to hire right people. But then once you hire them, you actually have to sell them the dream. You have to sell
Mm-hmm.
them the idea that working with you, and hear the distinction, not for you, working with you
Yeah.
to build a great company, right? If you
Mm.
got those two skills, I think that's like 80% of the way there, because you can then hire. It's like I'm not good at accounting. Like I'm good with numbers, but I don't like getting into detail, and so I kind of suck at cash flow forecasting and management and all that. But you can
Mm.
hire that, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You can hire a lot of skills, but the hardest people to hire in my career that I've had is salespeople,
Mm.
because the best salespeople are so expensive you can't afford them. So you better become one. You know what I mean?
Wow, wow, that's quite a lot of work, though.
Mhm.
Thanks you so much, Mr. Igor, for sharing these two traits, having the ability to sales, and also hiring the right people, teamwork, having the right people, and that's I can completely relate with you when it comes to having the right people, because, as you said, you can't do it all, and this is what I tell people, that a leader doesn't mean that is omnipotent, omniscience. He knows it
Yeah.
all. No, a leader capitalizes on the knowledge of other people who are better, smarter, faster than him in a particular area.
Oh, 100%. And look, and the other thing that I'll say is, like, I have this conversation when I hire people, I have the following conversation with them, and it's actually quite, they laugh usually because they think I'm joking. I'm like, I'm not joking. I said to them, listen, guys, I really like golf. I really like playing golf. So
Hmm.
I'm hiring you. So your job is to make me play as much golf as possible, right? And
Hmm.
it's like, so I trust you to do your job. That's why I'm hiring you. I'm gonna get the hell out of your way so you can do your job, right? I'm not gonna micromanage you. Now, my job is to remove roadblocks for you. So as a leader, your number one thing is remove the roadblocks of your people so they can do a great job, right?
Wow.
So and the number one thing is don't be the roadblock, right? So micromanagers are the worst leaders because they are the roadblock. They are the bottleneck of an organization, right? You can never
Hmm.
scale a truly successful business if you are micromanaging everything. It just doesn't work.
Wow. And you just mentioned, I'm happy that you're able to relate sales and and hiring the right people, meaning that sales, meaning that you're able to communicate the vision
Right.
as a manager or a leader or an employer. If you're able to communicate the vision effectively, clearly, like you said, they're not working for you, they're working with you. Because when
Mm-hmm.
people realize that they're working with you, it gives that sense of teamwork, it gives that sense of
Yeah.
ownership, right? They're working with you to achieve something very, very great, because nobody wants to be a slave under somebody. At the end of the day, you the boss, you make all the money, and then people put so much time, so much effort, so much energy into giving you the desired results. So we live in an age right now where people want to feel like they are important, they are significant
Yes.
in the
Exactly.
workplace.
You know what I strive for as a leader? Like I had this vision, and I had really great leaders in my life, but mostly I've had really bad leaders in my life, in my career. And I've always said, I observed what they did. I'm like, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to treat people like this when I'm a leader, when I have my own company. And I built this whole like bank of ideas of how I'm not going to do things. And then I learned how to do things. And so the team I have people that I have to literally tell them, I said, guys, take some time off, right? You're working too, like they are so committed. They're such an amazing team. They
Mm,
love the vision. They feel so much part of the vision that
mm,
they work crazy hours. And I'm like, I have to like pull them back. Say, guys, don't,
wow.
you like slow down. Like, the sun will come up tomorrow. Get some rest. Like all of that. And to me, that gets me so excited to work with these people because it's like you build like people say you have to build a culture. And like, you don't do it by, reading a book or doing a podcast or whatever. You build culture by your actions, by your actions. You are the leader, your actions.
Mm,
And for me, I feel so much pride in having such amazing people around me. And my goal is to be the dumbest person in the room, right? Like I don't want to be the smart. If I'm the smartest person in the room, we've got a problem. Right.
mm,
So when I'm hiring, I want people so smart that they scare me, you know. And
wow,
all
wow.
I am there to basically like clear the path for them to for their beautiful minds to just pave the way to an amazing future. And that's my
Mm.
job, is to just clear the way.
Hmm. Wow, wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Igor, for sharing that. Previously, you talked about how you have started several businesses. Most of them have failed. I know people are really afraid of the F word when it comes to failure. But what's your insight on failure? How can people embrace it and take advantage of it, capitalize on it rather than see it as an obstacle?
Yeah, so good question. So a couple of things I can share on failure, right? So the first thing is, let's focus specifically on people like us who immigrants, right? We come to a country with usually with nothing. And here's the thing, about beautiful thing about failure, right? When we start, we're at rock bottom. We have nothing to lose.
Hmm.
And I've often felt that, and I've been to rock bottom many, many, many times. And I feel like at that point, because you have nothing to lose, you have this inner strength that other people do not have. Because people have something to lose, they will always leave a little bit in the tank. Whereas an immigrant, in my view, such as my parents were, such as I was, you have this sort of superpower to just
Hmm.
go all in, right? And that is a beautiful thing, and that can be harnessed and utilized to succeed. So failure can never, for me, what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, we came with $200 and didn't even speak English. So,
Hmm.
if I'm down to $200, but I have English, I'm better off than what I was when I started. So, failure doesn't really mean that. Failure isn't here. It's what it's obviously, if you can't put food on, if you can't eat, that's pretty bad failure, right? But the thing with failure is in business, you're going to fail. 100% you're going to fail somewhere. So you have to get used to it, right?
Hmm.
You have to be okay with it, right? And if you strive for perfection, you'll never start a business.
Hmm. Wow.
But to maximize failure, there's a concept, I'm sure there's a book about it, many books about it, called fail fast, right? And what that means is, so let's say you find a problem that you want to solve for a customer, right? You go, hey, I've observed something and I see a problem. Why doesn't someone do this? Do something that allows you to figure out if it's a problem worth solving or not in a short, cheap, low risk way. So fail quickly. So my business, the business that I sold was started because my previous version of the same business failed,
Interesting.
right? So I started 24/7 golf as an indoor, like those 24-hour gyms, but for golfers, you can play golf in indoors. But that, it kind of succeeded and then it failed. And when it failed, I had all this equipment I had to sell. So I sold it on Facebook Marketplace and it sold really quickly. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. So I bought a few more things and I sold them again. And then I
Mm,
pivoted to e-commerce.
wow.
Now that mistake, the business that failed cost me over 100,000 to fail. So don't do that, right? But if I could find a way to fail for $1,000, for 5,000, I often throw, I say this, my wife knows this, like, instead of like going and spending money on like alcohol or, expensive restaurants, I'm like, I'd rather take 2, 3 grand and try a new business. Like just
Mm,
throw some money into an idea and see if
nice.
it works. Because if it works, you go, hey, I can throw another 3, 4 thousand,
Mm,
maybe turn it into 10,000. Take that 10,000, maybe turn it into 20,000. And just start iterating and be very nimble and agile. So my whole thing with failure is your biggest friend in letting you know what works and what doesn't work. So make
wow.
very small incremental failures, and that will actually guide you to success. Because I wouldn't be here
Wow.
today if I hadn't failed so much.
Mm,
Right?
wow.
You learn. You actually, if you look at life, you look at your life. If all your viewers look at their life, you learn the most from failures. You learn only a little bit from success
Yeah,
because you don't
that's
truly
true.
know what exactly made you succeed, but usually you can really point to what exactly made you fail.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Igor, for sharing that. Fail fast and fail forward. Take
Yes.
that failure, learn from it as quick as you can, and then use that to progress yourself or advance certain things in your business or in your personal life.
The reason I got into the golf business because I saw in this whole big golf business, I
Mm.
saw a niche. I saw a need for people that wanted to play simulator golf, right? So, simulator golf is like you play it in your house, in your garage. You have like a screen and
Oh,
a mat, right? And you hit real ball, real clubs. You hit it in and you kind of play virtual golf. You play like virtual golf courses. And the interesting thing there is I wasn't selling golf simulators. What I was selling the problem I was solving for people, right? Talking back to the very first thing we talked about, the
yes.
problem I was solving was time. Because
Mm.
golf takes 4 to 5 hours, right? And people are time poor these days. So if you could have a golf simulator in your house, you could pop out, have a 30-minute, 60-minute hit, play a quick round of golf, practice without it costing you 4 or 5 hours of time.
Mm.
And so that's what I mean when I say I wasn't selling a product. I was selling people their time back. And when you can do
Wow.
something like that, when you can package that as your value proposition, you've got a really compelling reason for the customer to do business with you.
Mm. So, I mean, I like the fact that you're saying that you were selling time for people to get their time back, or you're
Yes,
sometimes people say, I'm not selling I'm not selling a product or service. I'm selling convenience. When people
correct. The
use this,
benefit. You're selling the benefit.
oh my God, wow. So, wow. So, oh, interesting. I mean, that's really a good way to look at that. When somebody's asking me, what are you selling? Instead of me
Yeah.
saying I'm selling this
Yeah.
iPhone, I'm
Yeah.
selling I'm selling a mini computer, where you can,
A lot.
get
Yeah.
things
So
done.
Steve Jobs, I mean, when he launched the iPod, right? He said 1,000 songs in your pocket. Right? Do you remember he used
Oh
that
my
phrase when he,
God.
right? So,
Yes.
so what he's selling you is 1,000 songs in your pocket. He wasn't selling you an iPod. He wasn't selling you an MP3
Hmm.
player or a device or a piece of electronics. He was selling you the idea that, when before you used to have these CD collections and all this stuff, you might be too young to remember CDs and record players, whatever. Um, but he's like, you in your pocket, you can have 1,000 songs, and people just could resonate with that. So, even as an accountant, right? You're not selling me spreadsheets, right?
Yeah.
You're selling me peace of mind. You're selling me success.
Mm.
You're selling me a sellable asset,
Mm.
right? Without an accountant, how can I have a business that is sellable if no one knows what my numbers are, if I don't even know how profitable I am? So always sell the benefit. Talking about being good at sales, that's what you got to be.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. So my second to last question is, what are your top three transferable skills that anybody can utilize based on your experience in life?
I mean, sales has been, I keep going back to that, right? Sales, because if you're good at sales, if you have that um, kind of the drive, the hunger, the ability to listen really well and all of that, it doesn't matter if you move to a new country, even if you don't speak the language, once you learn the language, I've been plenty of places where the best salespeople are people with accents and broken English. It doesn't matter. They have the right attitude. They have the right, um, they have the right kind of guts to do this. So to me, sales is number one. Um, and number two, you actually mentioned this word earlier, resilience, right? In the face of adversity, in the face of failure, even lots of failure, the resilience is what going to get you through all of those things. So if you have those two skills, you could pick up, you could lose everything in your life, right? You could
Mm,
lose your house, you could lose your car, you could lose everything.
yeah.
But if you have those two skills, you could start again anywhere in the world
Mm,
and you can make something of yourself. You can rebuild it because it's in here, because you can't lose that, right? Once you have those
mm.
skills, once you have that belief, no one can take that away from you except yourself.
Well, this clearly shows that the amount of businesses that you have started and you have failed, but you're able to get up again and start new ones and just keep going. Like some people don't have such mental capacity.
think we, I think we all do. It's just some of us don't harness it. And
Mm,
and look, there's a lot of reasons. We all have childhood trauma. We all have things in our life that make it really hard. And I'm not saying it's easy.
yeah.
I'm just saying that it's possible. And I guess it depends on the individual whether they believe it's possible for them or not. And I know sometimes it can be hard. I've been through my moments where I didn't believe in myself, when I didn't believe that I
Mm,
could, I could get there. But in the end, coming back to like that moment of, well, what else am I going to do? I have nothing to fall back on.
mm,
So I have only one choice, which is to fight, to keep going.
mm.
And so, what I would say is to anyone listening who's kind of experiencing that lack of belief, you really have to ask yourself, well, what's your alternative? What else is out there?
To wrap up, kindly share with the audience how they can get a copy of your book and also what type of services that you offer if anyone is interested.
Yeah, sure. So look, my book's on Amazon, in many countries. Practical Manifestation. Um, you can find it very easily. And if you want to have a look at my board game, it's entrepreneurpoly.game is the URL. But I'm actually looking for organizations and communities to donate. I want to donate 1,000 of these games in the next 6 months to communities that want to learn about entrepreneurship. Schools, churches,
Mm,
synagogues, mosques. I don't care what. As long as they're the right kind of communities that want to learn about entrepreneurship and would love to, spread that kind of message and especially because to me, this game teaches you those skills of resilience and financial literacy. So if you have any organizations or if they're listening, please reach out to me or reach out to you, and you can get back in touch with me and my team. And I really want to get the message out and donate, like I said, 1,000 of these games. So please help me out.